chance at top-tier tickets from John Mulaney to Santana and the Doobie Brothers, My Chemical Romance, and more. Don't wait. Enter now at KFAN.com. Keeper contest.
Couple 13-14 pass, Common Man program. Meat Sauce just dropped by. Pick up his check.
Oh, boy.
Flop, Sweat, and Tears. I mean, he hadn't said, good night, thank you very much for coming. He barely finished saying the words. He was home already. I mean, I'd only gotten to how many people here listen to KFAN radio before, and he was already home. And the check wasn't real big. And we don't have to do it certified, trust me. But we had fun. We enjoyed it. It was the last Flop, Sweat, and Tears show of the 25-26 season. Got grand plans for next year. We're going to return to Duluth for the first time in a long time. Going to Fargo. We're going to go to the Uncommon Loon in Chisago City and several other outstate areas. Going to take the comedy show, Flop, Sweat, and Tears, out on the road, me boy. So that's coming, but more on that later.
Oh, boy.
I think what we should do now... Oh, by the way, Sauce wants to participate in mocking the mock draft.
Oh, I'd love to have him.
Yeah, so he said he wants to call in. So we will have him. Maybe you can talk to him about who, what, and where, when he will draft. But without further ado, it's draft week over at Winter Park TCO Performance Center. Justin Jefferson, we heard from him earlier. He talked for a couple 13-14 minutes. Kevin O'Connell just wrapped up now, and we will we'll now listen to a longtime Vikings capologist and interim general manager. Here's Rob Brzezinski.
Really want to go through and name everybody's name, and it feels so good when you hear your name, but I don't want to miss anybody, and it's everybody from our scouting staff all the way down through medical training, equipment, operations, player engagement, family engagement, football information systems, everybody. I'm probably forgetting somebody. And you all know who I'm talking to. I appreciate each and every one of you so much and love you and thank you for all the hard work and the effort, these last couple of months. And I'm also very grateful for the support, from the organization, starting with the owners, the football staff, KO. I mean, KO has been phenomenal. He's been a great partner. He's a great friend. Couldn't have been more grateful to work this process with him. And the coaching staff, they've been, I just feel like they've been so supportive. And, that's been awesome. It's been a long process, for us, and it feels like here we are at the home stretch. It's a big week for us. Obviously, our goal is to get this right, and we will. And, we're ready to go. So, with that, fire away.
Rob, just in terms of working with KO, just how much has that helped your comfort level of sliding into a new role and having him there with the relationship you guys have built?
Yeah, I mean, it's always about the people, and he's just a great person, and he's a great colleague. He's a great leader. And I just feel like we have really good synergy, me working with the personnel staff and the football staff and KO with the coaching staff, getting alignment on both sides and then working together to get alignment, amongst us. And that's, really been going well.
To what extent did you guys, as you were working through logistics for those 3 days, did you change things that you guys have historically done in terms of just who's doing what? Who's sitting where, who's in the room, who's not in the room, those just type of real specific logistics. Is it pretty similar to what you've done before? Or?
Pretty similar. Yeah, you won't see a lot of changes within the room. Some of the responsibilities would be different, obviously. But by and large, the setup will be the same.
Have discussions changed, Rob? Just as far as approach to the board being set, who gets to say, I guess, but just as far as the preparation for the draft approach with Kwesi now gone and you in, has that changed or been altered?
I don't want to get into specifics of how we've done things, but we have done some things differently. But, by and large, it's just about good communication, working together, getting the board set, and just having thorough discussion. Some of the cadence and some of the things we have done in the past are different this year. But, it's really about the communication and getting them lined up and getting it right.
Rob, you've been in the room for a while now on draft night. Have you thought about that first draft call and how you need to prepare for that or what you're going to say?
Not really. I mean, it's this is a group effort. We're going to make that selection as the Minnesota Vikings family, and it's exciting. Obviously to be in this position. It's an awesome honor and opportunity, and looking forward to it. But it's definitely an organizational decision.
Rob, when you look just overall at having 9 picks and having 4 in the top 100, what does this draft mean for you guys as structures from a roster building standpoint?
It's important. The draft is the lifeblood of what we do, and so our goal is to get it right, and we will. It's an inexact science, but you give yourself the best chance by going through a good process and, have good communication, like we've talked about before, just getting it lined up the right way and getting it lined up objectively. And I mean, honestly, I think the board kind of falls to you. We're working through some different hot spots, things that we think, may be there that we're going to need to be prepared for. And I think we're in a good spot with respect to that.
With it's going from 10 minutes to 8 minutes between picks in the first round. Does that?
No, most of the time, Dave, you're just killing time. It's just like, just that's for TV and all that. We could get these picks done pretty quick. Yeah.
Rob, have you enjoyed this? Like this, you've been here for a long time, but I mean, this clearly is a step in a different direction. Just the whole process, and I don't know the pressures that go with it. Have you enjoyed being in this role?
I just love working with the people. I do. I mean, I have enjoyed the process. As far as I've been doing this so long, Judd. I've seen a lot. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen a lot. I just enjoy working with the people. What I enjoy is consensus building, the collaboration, getting everybody aligned. And also when there is an alignment, trying to find, that alignment and understand how different people see things differently. A lot of times they see it the same, but once you translate it, you realize everybody's on the same page. They just might be grading different, or they might just be describing it different. But I just love the process of team building, and just working through that aspect of it.
Rob, have you received any more unsolicited opinions from friends and family on who we should draft this year with this new position?
Not really. I mean, what's so cool is, we talk about it all the time. The fan base here is, there's people can say what they want about fans all over the world. The Minnesota Vikings fans are the most supportive and the most passionate, and honestly, it drives us, every day in what we do when we're making these decisions, because we know, we want to give our fans something to be proud of and to cheer for, and one day, get to the pinnacle, of what we're doing, and it's definitely motivating.
Where would you say you guys stand with Jonathan Bernard at this point?
I mean, JG's a great player. I mean, I expect JG to be here. It's like there's all this speculation. There's been speculation. There's conversations that take place with respect to players all the time on rosters. And for some reason, sometimes some things get public and other times they don't. But, he's a really good player and a special person and a leader. And we're really happy he's a part of our team.
Rob, when it comes to 2027 out into the future, you've kind of mentioned that a few times when we've chatted with you. How difficult is it when you're going into a draft to try to project a year forward, even though you know that whoever you bring in will need development time and things like that? Like, how do you weigh the future projections?
We were just in a meeting before we came down here, and that's part of it. You're always trying to balance that. And such a big thing in our league is having a path for your draft picks to play, especially your early picks. You want them on the field. And that's ideal. But there's also a world where you have to identify what the role is year one, but also what the bigger picture is, down the line. And so, it's always a balance. And that's what we're talking about, what our needs are, in 2026, and then what our needs are in 2027 are two very different things. And so it's a process of, balancing those two things.
We've talked a little bit about him, I know already, but with Matt Thomas coming in, how helpful has that been for you? But then also just how has he kind of meshed with a group that's been together for a long time.
He's just such a special human being. I mean, he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented executives I've ever been around in this business. And again, I can't say enough about him, just dropping everything in his life. It was a retirement life, so it's not like, he had a pretty good life. But and to just move to Minnesota and be here to support this organization, and Emily, has been to the extent I'm kind of jealous. I mean, those two are hanging out, and I'm like, what? I'm like the guy left out. Now he's been amazing, and he's also been he's got such great people skills. And it's just fun seeing different staff members gravitate to him. And it's kind of like Grandpa Matt.
Hey, Rob, when you talk about trying to get things right, can you define that a bit more? Because, I mean, the draft, you don't get starters day one. So I think when people hear that, it's a little bit like, okay, what in your mind does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's you want every pick to play and be successful. That's obviously not the case, and there's a lot of reasons why that happens and things we discuss every day to try to make sure our picks do work out. I think you give yourself the best chance by having a good process. And I've said it before, it's just getting the board stacked objectively based on talent. And then on draft day, you can work to fill your needs. And we've been talking a lot about best player available. That doesn't mean you're automatically just going to take the highest graded player on your board. And I think we talked about the example before. Buffalo is not taking a quarterback. I don't care who is on the board. They're not taking a quarterback. And so what we do is once we have the board stacked, hopefully objectively based on ability, then we identify who are the best fits for the Minnesota Vikings. But we want to make sure that we're not passing a unique talent to fill a need for today. A player that might not have the most impact in 2026, but could be a cornerstone for 2027. And then we just look for the right fits. Who do we want to be a Minnesota Viking? All those other things outside of what you see on tape. That gives you the best chance to be successful. Bringing in all the information, being objective, not trying to fix the process ahead of time. I think that gives you your best chance to be successsul.
Rob, you've talked a number of times in this process about stacking the board objectively. Where did that principle, I guess, become so important to you?
I just all my years of observing the process within, I'm talking about league wide. I'm not even talking about, the Viking. It's inherent to try to, the draft is supply and demand. You can't manufacture what's not there. But when you have needs and you're trying to fill needs, you're looking always glass, half full. And you're going to see what you want to see in certain players where you have needs. And it's just, the process is just about being objective as possible and just having honest conversations. That's just kind of it,
How would you characterize your needs?
We have a lot of them, like, every team does. We look through our roster and it's, when you get to the draft, I think, again, to use, the Buffalo example, there's not too many needs that you don't have on your team. So it's more about trying to rule out the obvious and keeping, a wide net cast, for all the other positions.
Rob, what's something you've learned about yourself for this process that you didn't know previously?
That I could stand up here in front of the media? No, that's a good question. I'd have to process that. I think it just reinforces how much success in anything in life has to do with the people. If you don't have good people and the right people, that's what it's all about. And it's just reinforced to me with just what a great organization we have, the talented people we have within our organization. And it's just, it's been a lot of fun, working with everybody.
Rob, is it easier to predict what's going to happen ahead of you whenever there's apparently so few quarterbacks? Just just the one?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, like in today's world, you can look through all these mock drafts. There's so much information out there. So back in the day, to try to find out where everybody was going to go, you spent a lot of time on the phones and all that. And, there's value to that. But, if you're getting information, you're given information. So now with all these mock drafts and all that, it sort of helps you get a sense of how, generally, the public or the market in general might be seeing players. I forgot, what was the point of the question?
Easier or harder to predict?
Oh, to predict, yeah. So, right. So it depends where you are in the draft, too. Like where we are in 18, you're just trying to project. Again, it's based on the talent, and then you're trying to project how they fall. And then we're trying to cluster a group of players that we would like to target at 18 and try to get them stacked and ranked, the way that we'd like to take them. You never know what's going to happen in the draft. You just try to have all the conversations ahead, particularly at 18 into the first round. You can have almost every conversation as far as who may or may not be there. I think as you move down through the draft, through the rest of the rounds, you just kind of have to let the board come to you. You can't play out every potential scenario that could be there, as you move through the draft. Thanks.
I don't know what kind of team the 2026 soon-to-be big-game world champion Minnesota Vikings is going to be. But I do know one thing I learned today. We have the greatest collection of human beings in the history of the world, all at the new Winter Park, the TCO Performance Center. Everybody's a wonderful
I want to work there after looking at all these pressers. No offense.
Well, especially when I compare it to here, there's not one person I work with that I could say that about. I mean, could you say... that meat sauce is one of the greatest human beings of all time. That Chad Abbott, what a hell of a guy. I'd look at the list of people and I go, they're not bad people, but I don't look at it. They all have flaws and
there's no collaborating. There's no aligning.
No. There's not. I would even consider most of the people that work here, including myself, there's really not a lot of likability among many of us. But that's okay. I'm glad they're all there at Winter Park. The one thing I did learn, Tenneby, is I think KOC's making all the calls. Rob seemed a little nervous there. He's never done that before. It's the first time he's ever done that, so I understand it. But even that last one, he goes, "What was the point of your question? What did you ask me?" So yeah, Rob.
I think we're used to seeing GMs and head coaches are always very polished. That's part of what gets them that role is they can handle those spots. And just Rob's never been in that spot before.
That's correct.
And part of me kind of likes it. I feel like he's more genuine and is not just. Right, like the first time Tim Brewster had a press conference and everyone's like, I love Tim Brewster. And you kind of realize, it's just a fake. It's all smoke. Whereas at least I think Rob is kind of like, here's what I am. Like it or don't.
Sort of like when you fill in for the Common Man program with Lieutenant Fitzgerald. Not real confident, not used to the spotlight.
Exactly.
That kind of a thing.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So Rob
and I can relate.
Yeah. Maybe we should call it the Lieutenant Brzezinski from now on when you set sail. Hey-o! So there you go. That'll be it for that. Somebody actually sent a text message on the Bradshaw and Brock text line and said, I'm concerned. Is Common no longer on the air? There's a whole lot of Vikings talk and a lot of Vikings coverage going on today. Look, it's List Radio. We mailed it. In all honesty, though, I like hearing from...
Most people want to hear from it.
Yeah, I want to hear from the best receiver in the game and the head coach and the new GM.
During draft week.
Yeah, during draft week. Hear what they have to say. And I knew they weren't going to say, well, we intend to target... What is it? What is the kid that we talked about earlier today that played at Nebraska? Emmett Johnson? Is that his name? I don't expect him to say that. Of course, you're not going to say that. But still, it's kind of you read between the lines and hear what they have to say. And I actually kind of enjoy it. Plus, I was able to eat lunch and take care of some other items as well. I received an email, by the way, closed circuit to stations all along the Common Man Radio Network. We're going to straddle the. What are we going?
The 30 and the 45.
The 30 and the 45 is what we're going to do. So does that mean we're going to 45 or no? We're going to break. No,
we're taking
30?
This. We got 4 or 5 minutes here.
So somebody sent this email to me at comment at KFAN.com at 7:59 this morning. Oh, is today Dope Day?
Yes.
Yeah, 420, which is why Meat Sauce came back. It's Dope Day. Hey-o. So someone on Dope Day sent me a text at 7:59, said Ben Leber at 7:54 a.m. stated he would take Jordan Addison over Amon-Ross St. Brown.
Oh my gosh! Can you remember that?
I'm not sure if he was high.
Come on.
But this is ludicrous.
He did not.
I've had two people tell me that. 2 people told me he would. Now, here's what I want to ask.
I can't wait to hear the explanation on it.
Well, here's what I really think it is. The explanation is Leber is now, he's become settled into this town. I mean, he does that show. What is it called?
Twin Cities Live?
No, it's called We Talk Too Much. No, what's the name? Not Enough. Enough's Enough. Oh, no, that's Barrero and JG. They do that show. Do they still do that show?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they still do that show or not. He does.
Do we know?
He does Twin Cities Live. You know, Twin Cities Live is one of those things where it's Ducky and Bunny. They don't do anything controversial. Everything's happy.
As safe as possible.
Yeah, they do a lot of recipes, right? And that's what they do. It's a recipe kind of a show, right? And then he's locked in as the sideline reporter for the soon-to-be Big Game World Champion Minnesota Vikings. He's locked into the Power Trip Morning Show. I think it's just, you know what you do? You go with the flow. And so instead of saying, well, the Vikings have some issues with this, then you just go ahead and say everything is wonderful. We have a great team. They have the best human beings in this. Because I don't see how anybody with a straight face, and this isn't because he plays for the Kiddies. Again,
I'm not a Lions fan, and
Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in pro football. He changes the way.
He might be top 5. He's borderline top 5.
Yeah. And so, we were talking, you and I, about.
I would love to hear the explanation, though, because I don't understand.
Well, that's it. I would like to hear the logic. And
strictly from a receiving standpoint, Amon-Ra St. Brown clearly has put up better stats, but he also blocks better. He's more competitive. And that's just on the field. We haven't even talked about the off-the-field stuff. Off the field, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a perfect citizen.
Here's another. I'll third that Leber said it, and nobody disagreed with him either.
Huh? How is that possible?
Nobody on the air said, well, wait a minute. Now you want to reconsider? Explain that. They just all went along with it. They just were nodding their head up and down. Ben Leber is a genius. He played the game. He knows exactly. And, you and I discussed it with Rosen out for a week or two that we might want to slide in some people in that 2 o'clock hour. I don't think Leber can do 2 o'clock because he's got his TV show. But maybe, we'd like to have him on 2 or 3 times a year. Maybe we could slide him in sometime this week for a quick phoner.
Sure.
To ask him what he could possibly be thinking, because I'd like to hear that explanation too.
And close circuit to Ben Leber in the Power Trip Morning Show.
Yeah.
If Jordan Addison was on Amon-Ra St. Brown level, we wouldn't just be picking up his 5th-year option. We'd be like, what should we? Let's talk about a contract extension here, Jordan.
That's exactly right.
You want to be here for the next 4 or 5 years at $30 million a pop?
That's exactly what they would be doing.
That'd be more than that, actually.
Yeah, it would be more than that. So I don't know, but I'd like to hear that.
I don't believe this happened.
Well, it seems hard to believe. I mean, I know the one thing that Addison does have that people like is he's fast, right?
He might be a little better deep threat than Amon-Ra. Yeah.
But, man, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets you tough yards. He can catch the ball pretty much anywhere on the field. And you know what else he does? He's so smart. I've talked about this before about him. He's not one of those guys unless he needs it. But if it's like in the first quarter and he picks up the first down after a 12-yard gain, he's not going to fight for the extra yard and have his knee torn to shreds and be out for the season. He's smart. He says, okay, I got my yards. Let's go ahead. It's the old discretion is the better part of valor. Some people think, well, that means he's not a hard-nosed football player. Ain't nobody more hard-nosed than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, there are, but I mean, he's right there with anybody else. It's you got to know when to hold him and know when to fold him. And we're going to fold right now. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. We got 2 more segments, actually. We're going to straddle the 45 as well. Someone said Hawk said he agreed with it as well. He liked Addison better than Amon-Ra.
You've got to be kidding me.
And these are part of our Viking coverage. These guys actually, well, that probably explains it, right? We'll take a break. We'll come back. And as they say, it says, yes, he did. Ben, it's going to be a preposterous statement a few times this year when he said Pat Mahomes is overrated. Remember when he said Mahomes isn't a really good quarterback? He's just a good creator.
I'm going to have to go listen to the podcast now. What time was it today? 7:50?
7:54.
Oh, my gosh.
No Rigatoni Rosen this week. Rigatoni will join us after he gets back from Italy. We'll break. We'll come back with a little bit more of Just That Loud here on The Fan.
Should mention The Fan and BigDeck.com wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword coin at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is coin. Enter now at KFAN.com. Carboni's Pizzeria wants to fuel your Game 2 playoff party tonight. Visit one of their 30-plus locations to enjoy delicious pizza and get ready for the playoff run. Find your nearest Carboni's today at carbonispizza.com.
I mean, it's like, hello?
What are we doing? What's going on? What is this? What's going on?
Was this a Budweiser commercial? Or are we back?
We're back.
Oh. Couple 13-14 past. I'm
kind of like the song.
It is. It's got a nice little funky beat to it. Almost sounds like the Paul Allen Project. Yada. What do you got out? I think the Vikings are going to be really good. Whatever I said about Kyler Murphy. No, Murray. Now I don't know what his real name is. It's Kyler Murray, right?
It is Kyler Murray. Yeah. Some call him Kyle Murphy.
Whatever I said about Kyler Murray when he was playing with the Cardinals, I don't believe anymore because now he's with the Vikings. This text message says, the topic on the morning show was best in the NFC North. They asked everyone, mostly same answers, best QB, Goff or Caleb, best running back, Gibbs, best wide receiver, Jefferson. What I heard from Leber was during the conversation of Jefferson being better than Amon, Leber chimed in. He said he thinks Addison is better than Amon in that context.
You've got to be kidding me.
Wow. Were they doing the bit? Because did they do the bit where Rosen wouldn't be listening?
Right.
Where they try to get Leber to say something preposterous and that Rosen will then repeat it later on. Look, was that the angle?
That could have been the angle. That's exactly. It would have had to have been because it's just not possible anybody could believe that. And I like J.A. I think he's got a chance to be, but like you say, if he was that good, they would not be just going, we'll pick up your fifth-year option because we need to extend you now. Because I'm on Ross St. Brown. I think if you looked up, wide receiver rankings across the NFL, he's for sure top 10 and top 5 in many other cases. And Addison isn't in that group. He's not. But maybe Ben sees something the rest of us don't tend to be, which is kind of frightening. We talked a little bit about the Wild. We can even get back to that. But the Wolves started out the playoffs, and they are 0-1. I watched the game. It's the first Wolves game I've watched start to finish this season. And it's just like, I've been watching. I mean, what's crazy is having never watched the Wolves this year, just going off of scores, stat sheets, and talking to people and reading things, I've analyzed this team perfectly. What happened on Saturday was exactly what they've been doing all year long. My guess is there was a little more intensity than they would have in a regular season game, and I would think they were actually trying a little bit harder than they were trying, because they admitted that during many regular season games they don't put out the effort. They just don't feel a need to. And now they put themselves in the 6th seed, and they'd have been better off playing the Lakers, right? If they'd moved up to 5 seed, would they have Lakers? Is that where they'd be?
Yes.
And they decided they didn't care about that, and now they've got Joker and Denver. This appears to me to be a better Denver team than the one that Wolves vanquished. Was it 2 seasons ago? And remember when the Wolves won that series, they came back from a 20-point deficit in Game 7 and made the amazing comeback.
Well, that was the point I was trying to bring up to Rosen when he was, the Wolves are deeper than they were back then. Yeah. They've had a history of beating them before. And like Jamal Murray didn't. I think he might have been kind of beat up physically in that series, and he's had a much different year this year. And we saw that in Game 1. I mean, he was the best player on the floor.
Yeah, he was really good. He got to the line early and often. I didn't hear a lot of complaints about the officiating. I thought there would be because, and as a matter of fact, as somebody texted me during the game, a basketball friend of mine, and thought, it's quite the disparity on the free throw line. And my response was, Well, that's because the Wolves are playing because they're not ready for playoff intensity. They're playing as if it's a regular season game, and they're sloppy on defense. They're a step and a half behind, and they're fouling guys. It got so bad, McDaniel. And here's the thing. Suwan was writing about this, and he was spot on. McDaniel was really good in the first half, terrible in the second. Randall was good and terrible in the first half, and better in the second. But they need better efforts from both those guys. And McDaniel had the awful foul. Well, he shoves Joker from behind in the frustration fouls. What are you doing? And then Randall he's frustrated, so he gets back-to-back fouls late in the game. And maybe it wouldn't have mattered at that point, but the Wolves weren't completely out of that game. And he gets called for a couple fouls I'm going to show him how great of a defender I am. And he gets reaching fouls, sends guys to the line. They're knocking down free throws. You're giving them free points for no reason. But I will say this, Teneby, I think the biggest problem is, I think it was obvious, at least from the way I saw the game, Ant is not 100%. He still was really good. He scored 22, defended pretty well. He had a couple of those explosives. He had one in the second half, one of those where he weaved through about 3 or 4 different players and took it to the hole. The vintage Edwards, what he's really good at. So he's so athletic, right? But then when you go back on defense, you could just ever so slightly notice him favoring that knee. I just think that knee is probably worse than they're letting on because, they let him sit a long time. He missed almost like 2-3 weeks, didn't he? I mean, he played sporadically. He tried to come back. He played, and then he said they say he was sick, and he played another game, I think. But without him at 100%, my guess is that, I don't know, I could be wrong, but that knee might need some cleaning up after the season's over.
It ain't getting any better.
No, it's
so
not.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's what's unfortunate because with Ant at 100%, I think the team's always in
it's still a coin toss.
Yeah, in any game, they're there. But without him, I just don't. I don't have a good feel for it. But again, who knows? It's there's at this point when it's only game 2, there's no such thing as a must win, but it feels like it, right? You don't want to be down 2-0. You get to go back to the bullseye, and that's all happy and good. And the Wolves have shown they can come back from that, but it just doesn't have a good feel for it right now for me. But we'll have to see how it plays off. What I thought was amazing, and they said it during the pregame, of the Orlando-Detroit game, 1 versus 8, right? Detroit and 1, Orlando. I think Detroit won. I think Orlando beat them once or twice during the regular season. And they said the coach of Orlando, his name escapes me, he basically said, we think we match up with these guys really well. And they did. They won the game. Yeah. I mean, and will that hold? I don't know. But you just don't see many 8s beating 1. Sometimes in hockey you do. Usually in the NBA it doesn't happen. We'll have to see how that plays out. Meanwhile, we talked about your Wild club, and they were, I thought they would win. I've been doing the bit about how there's, why do we feel like, we have to be afraid of Dallas, or it's going to, it's the old, or the Avalanche. It's the same thing with Minnesota teams. We kind of have that here in Minnesota. It's hard to shake that feeling that what can go wrong will go wrong, because it always seems to happen to us when it comes to postseason play. We haven't been to a big game since 79. We've never been to the North Stars back in the 80s got into the Stanley Cup final.
Well, they did in the early 90s too.
So
lost the Pittsburgh Penguins.
So was that twice they got there?
I believe so.
And then the Wolves have never been there. They've been to the conference finals 3 times, but never. So, and the Twins, the 2 World Series championships. So it just doesn't happen. So you just expect it. But this team seems they're obviously they're different, and they've got star power. They've got a little bit of beef. They got some muscle with McCarron and the Felinos. They got good goaltending. It's fun. You just feel so. Every other time that the Wild have gone into the playoffs, I'm not saying I expected to get beat in the first round every time, but you just go, well, it's one of those chip in a chair and a chance. This seems. Do you agree this seems better than a chip and a chair?
Yeah, chance? I mean, I said it was the best team they've ever had, and I don't even know if it's close. Now, the problem that could disrupt that was they're going to have to go through 2 of the best teams in the NHL in the first 2 rounds. So
that's correct.
It might limit how far you can go. But regardless of outcome, I'd have a hard time believing. Yeah, this team, I thought they played well in the playoffs last year. I thought last year was different, even though they lost the Vegas Golden Knights. Their mentality seemed like different, and I think they're They've obviously built on it. I think Walt Volstead might be able to give them a boost in the net that they haven't gotten in a while. Obviously, Quinn Hughes on the blue line. They're set up here, and I think it's their time.
Here's my question for you. Do you like parades?
I do.
I do too. We'll break. Come back. One more segment to go here on the Continent Man program on the Fan.
Hey, join me, Tennessee, at Fleet Farm in Monticello this Saturday for their Fleet Fest celebration. Join us from 10 a.m. to noon for incredible deals, free food, and prizes. Get the full details right now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Couple 13-14 past. I'm Comedies Tennessee, final segment of the Grum today. Rigatoni Mark, he is in Italy for the next couple of weeks. We will not hear from him, which is a bad break for all of us. He won't be back. We won't hear from him for a couple of weeks. So I text. Some people might not be aware of this, but Ben Leber and I text and talk more than most people know.
Yeah.
And I just sent him a text. Now he's minutes away from going on TV, lights, camera, action, so I don't think he'll respond right away, but I should have done this earlier. Here's what I texted him. You didn't really say you thought Addison was a better receiver than Amon-Ra St. Brown, did you? I didn't think so, but that's what people are saying.
I always love that one.
So I just sent it out there. I said, I didn't think you said that. There's just no way you could say such a thing like that. So we'll see if he gets back to me. Generally,
you got a nice big juicy worm on that hook.
Yeah. And generally he responds. It might just be a while this time. This one says, it's okay. I like my radio hosts like my acting GMs, not very polished. That would be me, and I'm not very polished. I admit that. I struggle. Matter of fact, I struggle sometimes not to revert to all fours. I saw this story, and I saved this one. I must have missed this when this happened in February. Hold on, let me find. Give me the if you need to give me the intermission music, go ahead. But I'm going to find this story because this is too good. It's regarding the Twins, and it's regarding Tom Pohlad, who is now he's running the Twins. The story was on Saturday, but there's a quote in here from back in February. But the story reads, Twins have lowest player payroll in 12 years. So this is the lowest payroll they've had in 12 years. They're 24th in Major League Baseball. And if you remember, Pohlad had said, let's get halfway through the year to the end of the year, and then let's judge the success of this year on wins and losses. If you'll remember, he thought it was preposterous that the over-under at most sports books had the Twins at 72, 73, 74 wins. He thought that was preposterous. He thought they would contend. And we thought what he said was preposterous, and it looked like it was preposterous early when they were 3-6. Then all of a sudden they went on a winning streak. They became the best record in the American League. And so they looked like us thinking he was preposterous was really what was preposterous from him being preposterous when we were preposterous.
It's a lot of preposterous.
A lot of preposterousness. Said the Twins, by the way, this was written Saturday before the Twins lost more games in a row, got swept by the Reds. But it says, Twins have one of the best records through the first 3 weeks of Major League Baseball, and that surprising start has come despite a payroll ranking just outside the bottom fifth of the league. The Twins entered the season with a $96.5 million payroll, their lowest opening day figure in 12 years, excluding the COVID-shortened 2020 season. They ranked 24th in that category among 30 teams, also their lowest mark since 2014. That figure is a $46 million reduction from the Twins' opening day payroll last year. $46 million. And nearly $60 million cut from 2023. That year was the last the Twins made the playoffs and saw a team record $156.5 million payroll to start the season. So not always when you spend, do you win. But generally speaking, Dark Star once said, the more money you spend on clothes, the better you look, unless you're meat sauce. So it doesn't guarantee that you are going to have a winning team, but obviously the proof is right there. It gives you a better opportunity because you generally spend more money on payroll when you pay players that have been more successful and have a good track record. But here's what I saw that I didn't see in February. Now, let me find this quote. Here it is. Pohlad said in February, when there's a window for us to be really competitive and compete in the playoffs, we got to be willing to put our chips on the table, so to speak, and go all in. In the past, whether it's the trade deadline in 2023 or, of course, the offseason after 2023, we haven't made those moves, and we can't do that going forward. Now, maybe I did see that, and we talked about it, but it's so stark in the reality of where the franchise, and what I've said all the time, he could have just said when it's the age of Aquarius, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, when there is an opening, when the window seems to be open, and it's not always going to be open for the team. That's the other thing the Pohlad pocket protectors have always, when they've tried to push back on those of us that have asked the Twins to be a little bit more aggressive on the payroll, they think, well, it's easy to spend other people's money. We're not, we're a smaller market. We're not going to have one of the biggest payrolls every year. The key is every year, no one, at least I haven't, I don't know about the others, I've never asked them to be in the top 10 of payroll year after year after year. They could if they wanted to, because they've got the money. But when it is the age of Aquarius, and Pohlad says he's willing to do that. Now, what I would really like to see, again, it's early in the year, the 3-game losing streak to Cincinnati isn't the end of the world. I mean, what are we now, 10-10, 500, 10-9?
I think they're 11-11.
Yeah, 11-11. But I would love to see him get to trade deadline and be like in first place. Things are good. Abel comes back. He just got put on the DL, and see if they put their money where their mouth is, right? Literally and figuratively, if they go out and spend money and add some players at the trade deadline. Tenneby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit with you today. We're back tomorrow at 12 noon. Big Ticket JG there next, right here on The Fan.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Minnesota!
Good night, folks, and good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.